Welcome back to Simple Mind Space. Today, we're diving into a topic that's close to my heart and probably on a lot of your minds: Bitcoin. Specifically, we're tackling the idea that owning even a fraction of a Bitcoin can be a big deal. Now, I get it. We hear all this noise online about needing to own a whole Bitcoin or even 625 Bitcoin to truly be in the game. And yeah, with Bitcoin hovering at such a high price point, the idea of owning a whole coin can feel incredibly daunting, even demotivating. But trust me, I'm here to tell you that owning even what seems like a tiny sliver of a Bitcoin is far more significant than you might think. Before we break out the calculators, let's ground ourselves in some fundamental Bitcoin truths. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins created. This isn't some arbitrary number. It's a hard limit written into the very code of Bitcoin, enforced by a decentralized network of thousands. It's the bedrock of Bitcoin's value proposition. Now, out of those 21 million, experts estimate that about 3.7 million are already lost, gone forever in the depths of forgotten hard drives and misplaced passwords. Poof! That leaves us with roughly 17.3 million Bitcoins realistically up for grabs. And here's another kicker. Not all those 17.3 million are even in circulation yet. We have halving events to thank for that, but more on those in a bit. The bottom line is this: Bitcoin is scarce. Scarcer than most people realize. But here's where it gets really interesting. Let's imagine for a moment that in the future, maybe in 50 or 100 years, Bitcoin has become so integrated into our world that a quarter of the global population, that's a conservative 2 billion people, want in on the action. Not all of them are aiming for a whole Bitcoin, mind you, just some exposure to this revolutionary asset. Do a little division, and you'll find that if those 2 billion people were to split the remaining Bitcoin equally, each person would get a measly 0.0008 BTC. Let that sink in for a second. 0.008. And that's not even factoring in the people who already hold Bitcoin and have no intention of selling, which, by the way, is a lot of us. So the actual amount available for those 2 billion future Bitcoin enthusiasts is even smaller. Suddenly, that 0.008 BTC doesn't seem so insignificant, does it? Especially when you consider that you can buy a fraction of a Bitcoin right now, today, and own more than a massive chunk of the future population ever could. Now, some of you might be thinking, but wait, what about gold? It's scarce too, right? And you'd be right, gold is scarce. But here's the crucial difference. Bitcoin scarcity is verifiable. We know, down to the Satoshi, the smallest unit of Bitcoin, how much there is and how much there will ever be. That level of certainty simply doesn't exist with gold. We can estimate, sure, but there's no way to truly know how much gold lies hidden within the earth, let alone in the vast expanse of space. But let's play devil's advocate for a second. Let's say you're skeptical that Bitcoin will ever reach even a fraction of the population. Fine. Let's assume that only 1% of the world, a mere 80 million people, ever decide they want a piece of the Bitcoin pie. To even come close to owning an average amount of Bitcoin in that scenario, each of those 80 million people would need to own at least 0.21 BTC. Again, remember that many current holders aren't selling, which makes reaching that 0.21 BTC threshold even harder for newcomers. The takeaway: if you believe, even remotely, that demand for Bitcoin will continue its upward trajectory, then owning any fraction of a Bitcoin today puts you ahead of the curve. But let's be clear. I'm not suggesting you liquidate your savings and go all in on Bitcoin hoping to get rich quick. That's a fool's errand. Investing in Bitcoin, or any asset for that matter, should never be about chasing riches. It's about securing your financial future. The real reason to consider Bitcoin, especially in light of its scarcity, is its potential as a long-term store of value. It's about protecting yourself from the whims of inflation, currency devaluation, and the countless uncertainties of the global financial system. We're seeing this play out in real time with institutional investors like BlackRock dipping their toes, or rather, diving headfirst into Bitcoin. They're not doing it to make a quick buck. They're doing it to hedge against the very real risks inherent in our current financial system. There's a reason the phrase, "you don't buy Bitcoin to be rich, you buy Bitcoin to not be poor," resonates so deeply within the crypto community. It speaks to Bitcoin's power to level the playing field, to provide a financial life raft in a sea of economic uncertainty. So don't get caught up in the noise about needing to own a whole Bitcoin to matter. Every fraction counts. Every Satoshi adds up. The most important step is to start, even if it's with a seemingly small amount. You'll be surprised how quickly it can grow and how much peace of mind it can bring. What are your thoughts on all of this? What does your ideal Bitcoin portfolio look like? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of Bitcoin and its fascinating scarcity, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Simple Mind Space for more thought-provoking content. Until next time, cheers!